better. You can't get better than that. Yeah, we all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. I said we all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. Yeah, we all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. We all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. Said we all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. Come on. I said we all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. We all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. We all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. Come on, y'all. Woo. Come on. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Come on. What I'm talking about. Says we all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. Yeah, we all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. I said we all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. Yeah, we all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. We all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. Said we all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. Come on. I said we all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. We all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. We all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. Come on, y'all. Woo. Come on. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Come on. What I'm talking about. Says we all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. Yeah, we all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. I said we all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. Yeah, we all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. We all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. Said we all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. Come on. I said we all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. We all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. We all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. Come on, y'all. Woo. Come on. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Come on. What I'm talking about. Says we all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. Yeah, we all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. I said we all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. Yeah, we all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. We all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. Said we all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. Come on. I said we all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. We all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. We all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. Come on, y'all. Woo. Come on. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Come on. What I'm talking about. Says we all do better when we all all do better. You can't get better than that. Yeah, we all do better when we all do better. And you can't get better than that. I said we all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. We all do better when we all do better. And you can't get better than that. We all do better when we all do better. We can't get better than that. Say we all do better when we all do better. We can't get better than that. Come on. I said we all do better when we all do better. We can't get better than that. We all do better when we all do better. We can't get better than that. We all do better when we all do better. We can't get better than that. Come on, y'all. Come on. Yeah. Come on. What I'm talking about. Says we all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. Yeah, we all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. I said we all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. We all do better when we all do better. You can't get better than that. We all do better when we all do better. We can't get better than that. Say we all do better when we all do better. We can't get better than that. Come on. I said we all do better when we all do better. We can't get better than that. We all do better when we all do better. We can't get better than that. We all do better when we all do better. We can't get better than that. Come on, y'all.
Hey everybody, we are
Hello.
back.
What's happening? Gangstagrass is back on the scene. Who are we?
Hey, what's up? I'm Dolio the Sleuth.
Yeah, Dolio.
What's up? Yeah. That dude that actually lives in your basement. You don't even know it. Your man R, son, the voice of reason, aka the Super Turbo, the Red of Steel. I'll be in here hacking in your Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Your electric bill is high because of me.
And I'm Sleevey Wonder, ops person for Gangstagrass, and this is my fam.
I like
Is that guy over there?
Aren't you next?
Am I? So, my name is Wrench, aka Wrench Diggy, Munchy Mouth Sweatshirt, Earl of Santa Fe, Venus Flytrap III,
Yeah.
and the mastermind of this operation, bringing you the whole shebang.
Wait, hold up. Hello, my name is Banjo.
Oh, yeah.
I play the banjo in this band. That's my little banjo. I'll be played by a bobblehead this episode. Just gonna stay right there. Nope, that's too close. That's too close. All right.
And yo, last but not least, it's me, Fiddlin' Pharaoh, be Pharaoh, sharp like an arrow, fly through your heart like a sparrow. How y'all doing tonight, y'all?
You know, we were doing rap verses.
Just a public service announcement, Pharaoh is coming in and out of this ethereal plane. He is an apparition right now, but he will join us on a human plane again at some point. But he's on our live stream right now, as you may see, in a ghostly form.
We're trying our hardest to keep the portal open.
Yeah.
Right?
Unfortunately, I died in World of Warcraft. I'm looking to get back. Somehow I'm still in the death plane.
Brian Farrell, aka Joe Gardner from Soul.
Who was the one? Was it Egon that kept getting zapped over to the other plane in Ghostbusters?
Yeah.
In the cartoon.
In the cartoon.
Oh, in the cartoon?
Cartoon.
Yeah, the cartoon. I think it was Egon.
You're just supposed to know that I meant the cartoon. I'm sorry.
It took me a minute. I'm like, oh,
Yo.
yeah, that's right. Ghostbusters, yeah.
That's some deep nerdy shit, man.
Yep. Yep. Welcome
Because that's what this band is about.
Yep. Yeah, we were doing some mission statement work, and we tried to figure out like what is this about? What does this really mean to us? Who are we? You know, bluegrass, hip hop, bringing it all together, and we're just basically a bunch of nerds. That's our mission statement, I think.
Very hard.
Yep.
Ha. Ha.
Good. So what's everybody been up to this week?
Hanging out with these goofball ass kids. That's it. That's what I do. And having a really good time doing it. Nah, man, I'm just chilling with the kids right now. My little man got his perfect scores on his tests and whatnot, and so I owe him a video game. I thought that's all he wants to do now is play video games. He's on his Switch or he's on the tablet, or he wants to get on the PS4. And I'm like, you know what? We're gonna go outside today.
Whoa.
How you gonna play PS4 outside though, Ran?
Exactly. Now we went and played. Me and the boys went and played ball today. It was good. It was a good day. It was a good day, man.
You know what? When I was younger, my mom got me some game, and I forget what it's called, but it was a very good game, actually. I had to go outside and play it because it had a solar thing on it. I think it was for Game Boy Advance, and to get energy in the game, I had to get sun. So I had to go outside and play the game out in the sun. But
that's what she told you, right?
Yeah.
No, it was legit. It was a very good game. If I ever find the name of it, it was very good. Danger,
It's
I wish you
raining
knew
outside.
about it.
That's right.
I got it, dude. I just Googled it. Boktai. The sun is in your hand.
Yes,
Oh, word?
Boktai. Yeah, that was a good game. It was really good. I used to just use my lamp for it because it was stupid to play out in the sun. I couldn't see the screen.
You know what? You're reminding me of when I was playing the Zelda game on the what is it called? The 3DS? I don't know. I got one of these things recently. I missed all those later handhelds. Like Game Boy Color, I think was the last handheld I got.
You should have got the Advance. That was what's up.
But the Zelda, no, I had an Advance. I did have an Advance actually.
Yeah.
But there weren't that many games for it. I don't know. I mean,
Man, the RPG. There are RPG classics for the Game Boy Advance.
Right,
I
fair.
still go back and get emulators for them, man. If you want to waste some time on some games, let's talk about the Game Boy Advance RPG sometimes.
I really do. My buddy
Yeah.
was just playing Wind Waker on an emulator, but that's another story. Anyway, I was playing on the 3DS, the what was it, Phantom Hourglass, and there's a little microphone in it, and there's somebody in the game, and he's like, "I want you to make the loudest sound you can make," and I was literally like, I was in my house and it was 11:30 at night, and I went to the bathroom and I was like, I like yelled into the thing, and then I read on the somewhere, or no, there's like an enemy, and it's like you can just blow on the mic. Like you don't have to yell. Like the loudest thing you can do is just blow straight into it. And I felt like an idiot.
It's funny.
I like that you were trying to be sneaky about it. Went to the bathroom to do it. climbed in the tub to try and get the echo.
Just thinking about how many parallels that game had to whatever handheld we had available to us in our age.
Didn't you guys only have Atari?
We're older, so there weren't many handheld games available to us.
Listen,
but
there was
one involved blowing into it.
There was a couple of different.
I'm sorry, I couldn't let the phrasing pass. We're a bunch of lunatics.
Mattel had a couple of different electronic handheld games. There was a football one, and it was white, and all you could do was like running plays. So it was like there were like several lines, and you had to try and get past the other lines, and then you got to the end of the screen, and it would wrap around. And then Football 2 came out. Football 2 came out. And that was different. So you could pass the ball. Yeah. And that game, honestly, that game is the reason why I knew my 7 times table so well. Because every time you score a touchdown, you get 7 points. Because there was no way to kick extra points on it. So it would just give you 7 points. And I would play that game and just master my 7 times tables playing that game. And then there was a third one. There was a ColecoVision one that was head to head. So it was like yay big, about this size. and two people could play it like head to head. It was ridiculous, man. It was so good. There was a basketball one, and me and my brother had all of these shows. They were so dope.
Is that before games had graphics?
Oh God, yeah, dude. These were,
The graphics for these games
were
were just like some pixels, like a square. Like
weren't even
I had a
pixels, dude.
ColecoVision for a good week and a half. So
These
before
weren't even
somebody broke
pixels.
into our house and stole it.
That's
I'm
wax.
pretty thrilled that our live stream featured somebody saying it was yay big.
And what we're talking about is a ColecoVision.
It's like the size of a turntable.
That's like sorry, man, but that's like the oldest sentence you could say would be the ColecoVision was about yay big.
That's so old timey.
Yep.
he had
Shout out
a hand crank on it to start it.
We got Sue's tuning in, and Ashley's in the house, and somebody by the name of Sticky Hands, which we won't go into. And then we got Timmy and Blair.
Games.
Yeah, we sending some love your way,
So you know what time it is. These are for Ashley.
Oh
I
yeah.
had my
Yo,
cousin-
real quick. Sticky hands. Keep them on sticky for our live stream. Thank you.
So somebody asked Timmy West asked, what is the best game on Game Boy original? The original
Tetris,
Game Boy.
dude.
Did everybody here have
Tetris.
an original Game Boy?
I had one
Yeah,
eventually.
I did.
Tetris, dude. Tetris
Obviously
could keep-
Tetris.
Tetris
Yeah.
can keep you involved in that thing for days.
Amazingly.
Like
Amazing.
days at a time. It was like, I'm going to move
Yeah.
these lines around. And
Real
then,
quick,
like, the sun came up. Wait, the sun went back down. Wait, the
Oh,
sun,
yeah.
and you're still
Oh
just,
yeah. When you started dreaming in Tetris, right?
I mean,
Right,
Close
yeah.
your eyes and you just see the like doop 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 doop. That moment.
there was. I think there was. I forget if this is Game Boy Color or the original Game Boy, but I think there was a DuckTales game that was pretty darn good.
Had a game?
Yeah, DuckTales had a game.
Yeah.
It's good. It's good. Are you gonna look that up, Danjo?
Yep.
Cool. Thank you, Danjo. Resident.
Looks like OG black and white.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh no,
that
it was
a good
first
game.
released on the NES and then ported to the Game Boy.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
They
Very
had
good
a bunch of folks who worked on Mega Man made this game.
Hence,
Man was at work.
that's probably why it was so darn good.
Mm-hmm.
I was telling my son, he's got it, he was going through his Switch and thinking about like what games to get. I was like, yo, if you get Contra on there, it's a wrap. I'm going to be on there all day.
Yeah, right.
All day, bruh. It's over.
Old school.
Mm-hmm.
I'm missing work. Like, where you at? Dog, I'm trying to get the spread gun. Leave me alone.
Yep, get it on spray. You're golden.
It's a wrap.
But yeah, so Tetris, definitely Tetris. No question there.
That was as far as I went with handhelds back in the day, because like I did most of my gaming in the house. My cousin had at one point so he started with the Atari 5200, then he got the Intellivision, then he had a Coleco, then he had the first Sega John,
Yeah.
which had this controller that looked like the handle of like a saber. It was this giant thing that went over your hand. There was a controller up here. It was a joystick up here. And then inside the thing, there were 4 buttons.
Oh.
Yo, that thing was nuts. And so he had all 4 of these at his crib at the same time. So
Wow.
me and my brother and my 2 other cousins, we would go over there. He would cut our hair. So we would go over there and just post up, get haircuts, play video games. We would sleep over. Usually he would go hunting too. So in the morning he would make us like pancakes and deer. It was ridiculous though. We used to do this like once a month. It was the greatest thing ever. And then he got one of the first PCs that had games on it, and it had tapes. It had cassette tape games.
Damn.
Which was just like, I'm like, what? What
That's
sort of
hella old
futuristic
school.
is this? Yo, that thing was hot. It was real dope. But the only one I remember, the one game I used to play a lot on the one with the handles was a game called Space Harrier. And that was the joint where like you start off in the beginning and you're running, and then you just hop up in the air with a jetpack and you just blast and stuff. Yo, Space Harrier was at work. I used to play that thing for hours in the arcade. And the great thing about it, the game was the one when you brought it home, like it looked surprisingly like the arcade version, like better than most of those games looked when they tried to translate them home. I don't know if anybody remembers the first Atari version of Pac-Man.
Mm. Yeah, actually,
That thing was trash. Oh my
Is
god!
that like what I ordered versus what I got from Wish.com?
Yo, it was
my God.
trash. Oh my god! You know how you got the fruit in Pac-Man? You had to go. Yo, it was just like it was a square with like a lighter square on it. It looked like a piece of toast with a piece of butter on it. It was so whack.
Welcome, Just Reezy.
It was so whack.
Like,
Real quick,
you had to have the really, really nice like box art just to tell you what you're supposed to be looking at. Like, here's this like really lifelike rendering of Mrs. Pac-Man. When I say lifelike rendering, I know
Wait.
Mrs. Pac-Man isn't
Hold on
real.
a second.
So
Yeah, my joints was like not even really. I didn't really get the full enjoyment out of my ColecoVision for the week and a half I had it, mostly because I imagine that the graphics were a lot better if you played on a color television. We did not have one of those.
Wow.
And plus,
Well, real quick shout out.
we only had the
Real quick
games
shout
that
out
it
to-
came with, like was like Mousetrap and
Mousetrap,
Something
like the
whack.
board game, like the
yeah,
the Rube
assemblable board
Goldberg,
game,
the Rube
There was-
like Rube Goldberg
game.
machine.
I don't even.
Oh,
What?
Whoa! You got Tank on that?
Yeah, Frogger.
All of these games on it.
Oh,
He's got all of it.
Randy, I don't have it here, so I can't show you. But I have a little Sega Genesis version of that, the like classic thing.
I
Yeah.
want to
problem-
play that Tank again because you go like 2 miles an hour and your bullet comes out like. Beep,
That was that was Combat.
Oh,
And the Combat, it had like a bunch of different versions of it, and so there were ones where you could like try and blow up each other's boats and stuff. But there was one where you had 2 tanks on the other side, and you could ricochet the bullets off and shoot each other. Yo, that game was ridiculous. Ridiculous.
Real quick, shout out to our favorite classic video game from childhood. And I'll get everybody gets 2. Everybody
I
gets
go
Two,
last.
good, 2, good. Thank you. That's humane.
Galaga.
That's a good one.
Yeah, all right.
Galaga,
Well,
Centipede, and then in my teen years, it was definitely Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, that's what's up.
I love the original Super Mario Brothers, which my mom could beat and I could not because I was too little to understand. And Tetris is sort of like the all-time favorite.
Mario had the banging soundtrack.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
really do. I'm going Contra, of course, and oh god, what was that? Contra and Metroid. Metroid was
Metroid.
so much fun, dude.
That's a good
Metroid
one.
was that work.
Didn't they have that at that arcade we went to in Atlanta? Where
Yeah.
cool.
Yes, they did.
Oh.
There was you talking about your mom could beat Mario Brothers. My dad, I used to come home from work and find my dad playing Super Breakout on the Atari. And it was one of the ones that had where the controller, you had the little spinny controller, John. And I would be like, I'd come home like, is this grown man sitting here playing my Atari? Like what?
Hey, don't joke about Breakout. Oh, I mean the Arkanoid, the arcade game. Man,
Oh, Arkanoid, I forgot.
favorite
Arkanoid was that word.
arcade game ever. Arkanoid.
Yo, Arkanoid was the joint.
I was
the ball,
definitely
right? Yeah.
I was definitely a Galaga person because I was, usually available in an arcade or something. But if I got lucky, I want to give a shout out to Joust, where you were riding on ostriches.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, forgot
Yes.
about that joint.
That was
Right.
cool.
The most disappointing game, I think, was Dragon Quest.
Oh yeah.
Or Dragon
That was
Slayer.
like that fully
Dragon's
animated
Lair
game, right?
was the name of it. Dragon's
With the-
Lair.
Dragon's Lair was the fully animated one, yeah.
Yeah, the
The-
fully
yeah.
animated joint. because the excitement was how great the graphic was, but it was like you make a move, and then you have to wait for like another 15 minutes for this vignette to play. Then you make another move, and then another 15-minute vignette, and you're just like, After a while, you just walk away from the machine and just
There were 3 of those games. It was
go back to the skee ball or something.
Dragon's Lair, and then Space Ace came out.
Oh yeah, Space Ace though. At least the Space Ace vignettes were entertaining.
Yeah, the Space Ace. There was another one that was kind of like it was vaguely based off of Lupin the Third. The anime Lupin the Third.
I'm liking this.
Great anime. Great.
Yeah, Lupin the Third was at work.
What game? Okay, I'm looking that up.
I'm liking this most disappointing video game as well. So yeah, so everybody should definitely include that. I would have to say Pac-Man Jr. on that one.
Yeah, that was trash.
And also Mario
I never
2
even played
because
that
it was
one.
not actually part of the original Mario. They just slapped the name on it, and you could tell.
There's a bunch of Lupin the Third games apparently.
Somebody said, didn't one of your songs get put in a farming sim? No, it was
Yes,
actually
it did.
The,
in the
what,
video.
what was
in
it, like the 16th farming
ad
sim?
for it, I believe, wasn't it?
Yeah, the E3 trailer for Farming Simulator 17 featured all four.
Yeah.
So has everybody gone? Am I
Wait,
last
Pharaoh,
yet?
did you go?
No, most.
Let me,
Go ahead, Farrell.
let me go ahead and put one in. I gotta give a special shout out to the Mist series. Near and dear to my heart. My grandpa got me into that. I don't know why, but I played every one of those games, and it took me forever to beat the first one. And Shining Force for getting me into tactical RPGs. I still play that game, even though I've beat it so many times. For some reason, I still go back and play that game.
Ice on sleeves. Good.
Most disappointing
That's
game.
the original Mist background.
Most
I don't know
disappointing
how you got
game
that so quick.
in general. The Atari Sword Quest series. It was supposed to be 4 games. The first one was Earth World, Fire World, Water World, and Air World was supposed to be the last one. Air World never even came out. There was a comic book series based off of it that at the time was drawn by one of the greatest artists in the industry, a guy named George Perez. Like, this was supposed to be the shit. Airworld never even came out because it was so bad. It was trash. Oh my god. The first 3 are on here. I gotta break this thing out and play it.
Is this any relation to Waterworld, the terribly disappointing movie?
Uh-oh. Timmy West is asking Street Fighter or Tekken?
Street Fighter.
Ooh. Soul Calibur.
Soul Calibur, yeah, definitely Soul Calibur. Like, why didn't you even say Soul Calibur? What's wrong with you, dude?
And what is it?
Soul
Final
Calibur.
Fighter?
Final Fighter was dope. Yeah, I used to mess with Final Fighter.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And the Simpsons game.
I never played those two.
It was wild. That Simpsons
I never
game
played the
was
Simpsons
wild.
game or the.
Those were always really good. They're like the multiplayer Jones,
Yeah.
like the X-Men one.
Team Attacks. It was Team Attacks.
Yeah, the X-Men one was pretty darn good.
There was a Spider-Man one that had Spider-Man, Namor,
What was it?
Hawkeye.
It was
and
what was it?
Black
It was
Cat.
X-Men versus was it Capcom?
Yeah, X-Men versus Capcom. No, I'm talking about the one, not the fighting game. The one where you were all fighting together against stuff. It was like, remember Double Dragon?
Yeah.
It was like Double Dragon, but with like more people. So you were fighting everybody. Everybody on the screen was fighting the bad guys.
Yeah.
There's a Justice League version of like that I only ever saw at Disneyland. It's the only place I've ever seen this video game. It was an amazing game, but I looked it up several times. I was like, this thing has to exist somewhere, and that's the only place I've ever.
Yeah, there
seen.
was like a Captain EO game at Disney World too,
Yes, there was.
Oh,
and I played it once.
Speaking of
probably
fighters
saved it to
games
the myth.
that you could only find in like theme parks, when I went to Sega World in London, I played a Sonic Fighter game. There was a Sonic the Fighters arcade game that I only
remember
found in
seeing
the
that
UK
game.
when I was a kid.
Yeah,
That sounds fun.
I do remember that game.
I've never been disappointed by a video game, so I will skip that question and instead say that, Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time is still the best game ever, but
Ocarina of
favorite game from
Time.
childhood is 2 games, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Sonic and Knuckles. And what it was Sonic and Knuckles. Basically, they were working on the game Sonic 3 and Knuckles, and it wasn't all going to fit, and they had to get it done by the end of 96 or whatever year it was. So what they did was they made Sonic and Knuckles into a cartridge where the top flipped open, and you could take not just Sonic 3, but actually any Sega Genesis game, and you could just plug it into this other game. It had this lock-on technology. And so what you could do, you could take Sonic 3 and you could put it on and play Sonic 3 and Knuckles, which was the best game for Genesis, and for a while until Ocarina of Time came out, it was the best game ever.
That sounds pretty cool.
And then Ocarina came along. But then you could also put other games into Sonic and Knuckles, and you could play as Knuckles in, well, it was really only like Sonic 2 was the only other thing that worked with. But you could technically put any other game in there. It just wouldn't work.
You could play Knuckles versus Sub-Zero or somebody.
I mean, no, but theoretically, that would have been so great if you could just put put Mortal Kombat and Knuckles. Knuckles would hold his own.
That's a perfect segue into.
Before we segue,
segued into
amend my previous answer, because I just remembered the Tron video game, and I logged some serious hours on that.
That's a good answer to the question. What game did you play so much you crashed the computer?
I never. That would be none of them. Like as soon as I got a computer, I didn't put any games on it.
Better.
I know a guy that I know actually a couple of guys that played GoldenEye so much that they failed classes.
Ooh,
you know what? GoldenEye.
I would still beat those guys. By the way, GoldenEye, one of my things that I'm really shamefully good at.
Does not stand the test of time. But I wanted to
segue.
Incorrect.
You're out of your
Pharaoh,
mind.
you're too young. You don't know. All right. Don't talk about stuff you don't know about.
Just Reezy is saying that Superman 64 was pretty bad.
That was a terrible game.
That was pretty bad. That was really bad.
Oh man!
And Randy,
you know I'll rep anything Superman. That was a terrible game. I was so excited about that, John. I was like, yeah, this is a mess.
Yo, I got a shout out to like my worst game playing were just the Sonic 3D games after the first generation. Yeah, all the Sonic 3D games sucked, and I played them so much.
I mean, not talking about Sonic 3D Blast, which was like it was isometric, wasn't really 3D, but it was cute.
No,
but you're talking about like the whole generation of Sonic games after Sonic Adventure 2.
Yeah, I'm talking about like Sonic on GameCube. Was that Sonic Adventure 2 with the introduced Shadow?
It was okay.
I can't allow that to go. I can't allow that to go by as okay. I remember playing it a lot.
It was definitely. I don't acknowledge those games as having existed in my canon. It's Sonic 1, Sonic 2, Sonic 3, Sonic 3 and Knuckles, Sonic Mania on the Switch.
Yeah.
All right, Sonic Mania, and I just don't want to hear about any of the other ones. It was a shameful time. It was a dark period. We don't talk about it.
Was this? Did you wear like 3D goggles? Was it actually when it says 3D? Was it like
no, just like any of the games? So originally Sonic was 2-dimensional like any other game, and then when it went into that era of like just like moving in 3 dimensions, it doesn't hold up. The gameplay works best when he's just like a little pinball on a little chute, along a plane. Like 2D side scroller is the way it's supposed to be.
And also, what's up with furries being so into like Sonic characters? Any furries out there in the fan base, just like tell us why.
Well, Pharaoh, sit back and relax because it's time to teach you about the wonderful world of no man, whatever. Let the furries be. They can like what they like.
Shout out to Randall Lahan is tuning in on Facebook, our Nashville family.
No segue. There was no segue there. We just want you to know there was no segue.
Yo, actually, you mentioned the mention of the 3D goggle just made me remember. I have a VR headset around here somewhere.
You know what? I have not played any games in VR because I don't like that future.
I didn't have it for games.
But you know what? VR these days is actually really good. I like it. I want one. I definitely want one.
Oh my god.
You ever see Lawnmower Man? No, he's.
So Timmy just asked best 007 game. Now we were just talking a lot about GoldenEye, but arguably best 007 game is actually Perfect Dark, not a James Bond game, but
A really nice ripoff.
it plays just like GoldenEye and had a bunch of improved features. Unfortunately, it pushed the graphics on the 64 a little bit too hard, and it got really slow. But it was the dream.
There was like I think there was like a PS2 or PS1 007 game that wasn't bad, that added a lot of decent stealth elements that I wish I could remember. Maybe it was like Die Another Day or something, but it was good. It was good. It was a while ago. It was one of those games that was good enough for me to play and not good enough for me to remember.
Oh, there's been so many of those, though.
Ages of those. Ages of those.
All right.
Is I wonder if anybody in the crowd an actual Donkey Kong fan? Because like whose favorite game is Donkey Kong?
I used to play the hell out of some Donkey Kong.
What do you mean actual Donkey Kong fan? I mean, come on.
Not a virtual Donkey Kong fan or a poser, one of those Donkey Kong posers.
Yeah,
Like a fan of the real live Donkey Kong.
We used to, me and the homies, we used to just climb to the top of, construction sites and throw flaming barrels at each other. It was
There's
fun,
There's a fun movie about Donkey Kong Championships called Fistful of Quarters.
Yeah, I actually saw that.
It's nice.
Somebody says fake nerds. Sticky hands.
Yes.
It depends on your definition of nerd.
Yeah, that's geek. You're going for geek there, right?
Well, we weren't actually planning on talking about video games tonight. We just
No,
spent 38 minutes.
That was an accident.
That was a result of what were you guys up to this week?
Yeah.
That was where that came
got
from.
carried away. But hey, that's the nature of the beast.
That's life.
That's right.
Should we continue
Started
with
this.
that question?
We
Should
can
we
keep
go
going
through?
on with that. Who started off with the game? I think that
I
was.
want to log for the record. It wasn't me, and it would be me.
It was the boy. It was me talking about Alex
Oh,
and his
yeah.
games and such.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We went on a tangent.
That's right.
Yeah, but we'll put in a couple of our required plugs here to let you know that best way to watch us is on the Twitch stream at gangstagrass.tv,
Yes,
in
indeed.
which the chat actually goes on the screen here on the stream, and the emojis that you put in float across the screen after you put them in. So that's a fun way to watch this. For folks that are on Facebook and YouTube watching right now, feel free to hop over to gangstagrass.tv for the best way to view the stream, and to let everybody know that we have an awesome club of super cool people that we share all of the best stuff we're doing with. Sneak peeks at stuff that we're working on, behind the scenes stuff, exclusive videos and stuff from the archives. It's called the Barnstormers, and the link for it is right here on the screen. And anybody who's not already joined the Barnstormers should come on over to gangstagrass.com/barnstormers and try it out. Try it out for a month. There's even as low as $4 a month for a tier, and you get to download all kinds of cool stuff that we send out.
Yeah.
Yep.
I started construction of a Mandalorian armor set for my son. Sweet.
You want to see that Mandalorian armor set? Because you can on the Barnstormers.
That's
That
correct.
might not be true.
That's
Is that
correct.
true?
It could be
That
true.
will be correct.
Could be true. All right, you
Pictures
can't
have
see it
been
now.
taken. You
can't
guys
see it
already
to-
saw the start of it, so.
That's right. So
Yeah,
you got to
he
go
was
on the
pretty-
Barnstormers.
He just kept asking me for it. Because he saw when I got the 3D printer, he immediately thought that was what I was going to do with it. But that's not what I mean, that's for I'll probably use it to do my suit and my wife's suit when we get around to making it. But his is being handcrafted.
Aww.
By the way, you can get like hemp coil for your 3D printer.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
they
you
got
can.
that.
I know you can make polymer out of it. So
What does that smell like when you're printing?
a party,
Really
maybe.
Or really bad.
Probably smells like a party. I don't need my office smelling like every festival
Check
we've
it out.
ever went to.
Right, Oregon.
It's like, yeah, it smelled like a Gangstagrass show.
I love how Alex just walked up into the
so
camera.
cute.
Like,
He was like, "What are you talking about?"
So cute.
Can't
Can't even
you got a
handle
fresh
it.
cut
Yes.
there.
Right?
looks nice, man.
Yeah, my kid got a fresh cut this week too.
Yeah.
I guess it's that time of week.
My 6-year-old borrowed my laptop to get on Zoom with grandma or something. And my backdrop was still on, and so it came up, and that was his backdrop. He's like, "Am I on TV right now?"
Good question. Maybe. I wish that you had like the stream like ready to go. There's a big red button, and he's just like, "What's this? What's going on?"
Dad, Mom, Dad, don't touch that. It's pure evil.
One of these streams, I feel like you guys have to substitute your kids in. If you have a kid, if you don't have a kid, you have to just be here.
Or be Pharaoh.
Be a kid.
We don't smoke dabs at the show, says Sticky Hands.
Or steal a kid. No.
Dabs that's too much. That's it's just like it's like the crack of weed. You just don't need to do it. It's just
Yeah,
unnecessary.
actually, the first time I got introduced to that was at a festival. I can't remember which festival it was though, and that's probably because of the dab. It was wherever we got introduced to the term Wookiee as a colloquialism.
What's Wookiee mean?
It's a type of guy you see at a festival.
Got it. We already
But like
understand.
the guy is
I got it too.
they had this they actually had these stickers that they would find Wookiees and like slap the stickers on them.
Yeah. It's a pejorative term, but
That's so
it's sort of
mean.
if you're in the culture, then it's like an endearing thing. It's like I can say it, but you can't say it, sort of thing. They use the term Wook for short, and then there's actually a band called the Wooks, and they're pretty good.
Is this kind of like shirt cocking at Burns?
It's
guess.
not-
No, it's like
No,
What?
scruffy gentlemen
Yeah.
you see at these. They're usually stoners and whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then but dabs are pretty intense. I mean, the second time I got introduced with that was at that show we did in Denver. The week that it was actually the same week they legalized.
Right. It was right after it became
It
legal.
was right after
You
it
know
became
what?
legal in Colorado, and people were just going super hard,
Yeah.
Like-
for like
it
a
was-
week, and then that was it.
and we were like, "Wow!" And the thing is, we played a lot of festivals and things, and we had I'd never been in a place that had that. It was like the building was on fire.
Oh, wait, you talking about when we played? What's the name of that spot? In Denver. Where,
Cervantes?
yeah,
Cervantes.
Very outside, yeah.
yeah. What
know,
the
they
funny
had-
part about it was the cigarette smokers had to go outside
Right, but all the weed
because there was too
smokers
much
were
weed
indoors.
smoke.
There was a dude with a full apparatus for dabs, like with the dome and everything, just chilling in the middle. There was a guy dressed as a joint. In the crowd.
Yeah.
Yeah,
good times.
And like,
Same
and the funny is like,
thing.
and the thing is like, only like maybe 2 or 3 people in the band. Well, 3. Well, was it? Oh no, back then it was like 4 of us in the band that burned. But like, everybody in the band was high by the end of the show because of the contact.
It was very strong. Very strong.
The similar story for when I had dabs when they legalized it in DC, or the kind of legalized it, like you couldn't sell it, but everybody could have it and smoke it. DC Normal threw a party, and it was similar story. Everybody just brought out all of their fancy smoking apparatus. I think there was some sort of unique joint rolling contest. There was dogs, there was crosses, there was like an octopus sort of deal, and then there was this dabs
These are all
thing.
joints?
Yeah, all joints. Yeah.
You'd be impressed by some of the stuff. It's basically like pinata making.
Yeah, it really is.
But instead of putting candy in the pinata, they stuff it full of bud.
Somebody gave me a dab, and I I can't do dabs. All I do is like, oh, where's the bed? It's time to go to bed now. I'm gonna go to bed, and that's what I did. Tried it again, and that's exactly what happened the second time.
I don't want to have to sign a waiver for, like, generally speaking, if I have to sign a waiver about, like, you might die and it's not my fault, I don't know.
Say
I
what
don't know.
now?
Well, so like
There
at
was
the
a
at the
waiver
DC
involved?
at the DC parties, at the like post decriminalization, gatherings where you can donate money to get a sticker, and with that, like, $50 that you donated for that sticker, you get some amount of weed as a gift. That's how like they did the decriminalization thing.
That's how they still sell it in
That's-
DC.
I-
And places get shut down now.
I haven't been outside my house in a
it's-
year, so I don't know.
It's federally still illegal, but the delivery services are the ones in DC that are still like regular, on time. They still work really great. I don't know this from experience, but yeah, they all sell you stickers, and everything else is technically free.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's a fascinating cultural phenomenon to me. But like, there were dab tables, and before you took a dab, you definitely had to sign a waiver. And I'm not signing a waiver for I'm not walking into some sketchy party and signing a waiver. Absolutely
No.
not. I went to
Yeah.
Burning Man that one time, and that was plenty. Your ticket is your waiver at Burning Man, by the way. Your ticket is the thing that says you might die here, and that is not on us. You're the one who's out in the middle of the desert.
It's called Burning Man, so at least you must expect that a man will be on fire. So
Oh, that's actually really sad.
That has happened
yeah,
at least once or twice.
Yeah, that happened the year I was there.
Whoops.
well, what did you expect?
I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I remember when I was in
Expected it to be
Pamplona.
the guy that's made out of wood to be on fire, not an actual human running into the fire.
right.
I mean,
That's right.
there's no actual physical waiver signing when you're in Pamplona either, but it's understood if you're there
You might get run over by a bull.
or gored. But it's really
You get run over by a gourd?
no, you might get gored. Yeah. But a guy got gored in the rectum.
Yes.
A guy got gored in the rectum the year that I went.
That sounds like the kind of
Rectum.
thing somebody would say going into an ER and be like, I don't know what happened. I don't know.
Well, he did all
Definitely a
kinds
bull,
of,
yeah.
he violated so many of the rules before that happened. Like, you're not supposed to be drunk. One. You're supposed to, like, not taunt the bulls.
I understand
not
if you do
taunt
get
Happy
hurt,
Fun
you can
Ball.
take a specific bull to court and sue them.
And he was naked, except for he was wearing the proper running shoes, which was the one rule he followed.
By the way, there is a I forget, maybe it's called Dia de Toro here in Costa Rica. I think they have it in San Jose, but a bunch of people like get drunk and get in the ring with a bull, and like it's like apparently I've seen a couple of videos of it. It's like everybody gets in there and they act like a community trying to protect each other. I mean, people get messed up by this bull, just everybody drunk and getting in
Yeah,
a
but
ring
you
with
don't
the bull.
have to do that anymore. I mean, there's cable now.
Yeah, if one of the rules that you don't follow in one specific thing and not all the time in your life is don't taunt the bull, I'm not mad that you got gored in the rectum. Not at all.
Rectum damn near killed him.
I was waiting
Exactly.
for it. Dolio, it took you a long time, man.
What?
I
to come
was,
to that
I was
one?
so ready for somebody. to-
Oh man, I so want things to be to a degree to where it'd be safe to be in crowds again, just so I can do Pamplona with Gangstagrass, because that's an experience I want you all to have.
you want it to be safe enough so that we can be unsafe?
Yes.
No,
Yeah.
I mean not to be in. We don't have to go out there with the bulls and stuff.
I'll go out there with the
but
bulls,
just the
Dolly.
I'll go out there
festival.
with
Of course
the
you
is-
will.
the festival itself is worth it. Like,
All right,
it's,
fair enough.
it's just it's hard. It's beautiful and it's hideous at the same time.
Sounds like my kind of party.
Definitely nervous about the hideous part. You guys know I can't even watch a movie where an animal suffers.
No, I'm not even talking about the part with the bulls. I'm just the experience before you even get to that. The stuff with the bulls is just maybe 30 minutes of the day at the crack of, like, right as the bells are ringing in the morning. What precedes it is 24 hours of party
That does sound very
Yeah, right.
Spain.
in a city
yeah.
that you get trapped in, because once that last train is in, there's not another train until after the bulls have run. So you're there. So you got to party. And you got to stay with your group since everybody is dressed alike.
I feel like I'm more inclined to party after surviving the bulls.
Right?
Yeah, partying beforehand is like hedging your bets. Like, yeah, we'll party after.
It's like tempting fate, I think.
But
Why not party while surviving bulls?
I mean, you can still participate in the party without having to risk your life. I mean, the place where the bulls run is like the street that's corralled in that area. But they put the barriers up before the bulls are running through. Before
Yeah.
is the partying in the streets.
You know how many people do you see like watching those, like making those videos that are up off of the street? Like, wow, this is amazing. Look at all these people running around against from these bulls. Huh? Somebody get
of
me
course,
another
we
survey.
we get us a Airbnb overlooking the running.
I think we're gonna get
The book
to
at
play.
like 2 years
We'll be performing from the bulls. They're gonna get us some saddles on the bulls,
Yeah.
and we'll just be
Bruh.
performing our set.
I mean,
on top.
the goal would be to perform there because there are bands playing. You know, there's stages all over the place. You know,
dude, I don't think it's
Music in the
dangerous
party.
enough
DJ.
performing in a bowling alley. You ever see
A
that? Where
bowling
they put
alley?
the stage up like between the lanes, and I'm just like, I
Really?
don't want to be up there. That's scary.
I've
People
never seen
rolling-
that before.
It's very scary.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Wait,
people
they're still
right next to
bowling
you.
at you while you're playing?
Well, they're bowling like by you, but still.
Yeah, every now and then you get that guy it's his first time.
Uh huh.
He throws the ball instead of
Uh-huh.
rolling it, and it just bounces
Uh-huh.
4 lanes over.
You know what I'm talking about.
Speaking of crowds and danger, another PSA to send out to everybody to say, take care of yourself, keep being safe, and do what you can to stop the spread of viruses. Keep your distance, stay home when you can, take care of yourself, and also to reach out to people who may feel isolated. Make sure all your friends and family's doing okay and stay connected. And yeah.
We want to
Like-
stop the spread
To
of
quote
viruses.
Saint Belcalis Almansar, shit is real.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
you're right.
mean,
You're
when we
right.
say
Yeah.
isolated, like we have each other, we have weekly Zoom calls, and we have this platform for speaking to like hundreds of thousands of people at once, and we feel isolated. So check on your people.
Yo, man,
Yeah.
I actually sent I sent a John out the other day. Just a little live on Instagram about like most of the time, you hear your introvert friends telling you how how difficult stuff is for them that are when they have to go out in the crowds and so on and so forth. So I had to send it out to all my extrovert people, like all those people that love to be in crowds and love to be like, life of the party, like, you know what I mean? And are always just kind of out there that don't have that right now. Like when you realize when that's missing from you, it's like, oh my God, it's the worst.
Yeah,
It is
I mean-
the worst.
Even then, and then there's also the introverted extroverts that like to keep to themselves, but still like to be on the outskirts of a crowd.
Yeah.
And then there's the
I
introverted
miss
extroverts.
being in the DJ booth.
Introverted,
Yeah.
extroverted, introverted sadist.
Sadist? What? How did we get there?
But no, I mean, Dolio, I think you touched on something there. Like that's part of the reason why I like being a musician is because like I don't necessarily want to be on the dance floor. I don't necessarily want to even be like talking to people. I want to be at the party, but like, the music sometimes gives me a little bit of a wall or like a buffer, and that feels safe. It feels comfortable. Like I'm up here, man. There's a fourth wall. There's a stage. Leave me alone.
Yeah, I miss that. I mean, I miss well here, especially here in Philly. Philly is our thing is block parties here, you know,
Right.
and Rand will tell you, our son will tell you that my block those are the best block parties in the city,
Bruh.
and
They get it in.
and shoot, you've all participated in that to
right.
some degree because we usually have DJs and live music. Basically a rotating jam session that happens with, of course,
Yeah, man.
every food on the planet.
I played bass and ate chicken, and then I
yeah,
ran
you
out of
played-
chicken, and so I just played bass.
Yeah,
No, that's a joke. There, you can't run out of chicken. You had
yeah.
so much.
You're not running out of chicken when I'm working on the grill.
Yeah.
I think what happened is that you filled up on chicken, so you kept
Yeah.
playing bass.
Yeah. That was a good time.
We have
So-
photographic
so
evidence
to
of
our-
that as well.
Oh, I'm sorry, Steve. What was that?
Oh, I was just thinking about not running out of chicken.
Oh, the chickening. Is that the picture
chickening.
from the chickening?
Yes,
Yeah,
at the
we
mansion.
we ended
Portland.
up during our foray on the West Coast during one of the times that the West Coast was engulfed in flames. We had to cancel our gig at a festival, Sisters, Oregon, and we had to make adjustments in what we were going to do. And Sleeves had a homie that had recently acquired a property,
The Manch.
a mansion out on the river in Portland. And since we were going to be there for a week or so,
Yeah.
we made the best of it. We cooked a bunch of stuff, and eventually we threw like sort of a mansion party for our Portland fans, Portland
good.
area fans who had already seen us because we had played Portland earlier in the tour.
Wait, there's a scene from that party.
And they came and we cooked for them. We cooked for our fans. Some people from the neighborhood also brought stuff that got cooked. That's when we got introduced to beefalo.
Oh, right. Oh, I
sounds
totally
wrong.
forgotten about
Because
that.
I guess one of the guys who lived in the neighborhood owned a steak and a beefalo ranch. And he had just gotten back from like a fishing expedition. So he brought a bunch of his catch and we threw that on the grill. And then we went into the room with the piano and stuff. And that is where Nowhere to Run
That's right.
got written and performed for the first time. It was
right.
kind of a jam, and it happened, and that became Nowhere to Run. It ended up on our not American music, Pocket Full of Fire.
Yeah.
Right. That's right. Danjo was just sat down at that beautiful piano that just happened to be there in the mansion.
Yeah,
And
started playing a riff.
Yep,
Landry
and
hopped on
Landry
the
hopped
dobro.
on
And it was a great big circular room or octagonal room, I don't know. Big round room, a lot of windows,
Round
high
windows.
ceiling, and beautiful wood everywhere, old wood everywhere, flooring, walls. It was just kind of this perfect, like the piano. I'm sure it was a nice piano, but it was really, you have to put a piano in a good room, and this was just such a great room. It probably made the piano sound better than it actually was.
Yeah,
It
the
was-
acoustics in that room were pretty awesome.
It was fun. That was a
Yeah.
fun jam.
Yeah.
And I love those intimate jams where we can get the audience right there.
Right, because that was just a select VIP Portland fans come hang with us, and they chipped in some good money to help us try to make up a little bit for not getting paid to be at the festival, and also buying up some of the T-shirts and merch and stuff that we didn't want to have to fly back with, that we've flown all the way out to sell at the festival. So sometimes our fans like that are real lifesavers. So a big shout out to everybody out there that supports us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean that's kind of a good reminder of like that's what it is kind of like now, right? Like with the whole 2020 huge cancellation, like it was a natural disaster, if you will, that shut that festival down and had to, drastically shift our plans.
So we had our own festival.
But that experience was a great one. So, there can be silver linings even in a time like this.
Now we were there for a few days, before we put on this thing. And then when we released Nowhere to Run, and I believe, was it Rolling Stone that reported that we were in Portland for 3 years?
Yeah.
All right.
That's right.
Yeah, Rolling Stone said we were there for 3 years. Like, no.
That would be something if we were there for 3 years and we came out with one song.
Yeah, right.
It was a good song, though.
It was a
Yeah, it was.
great song.
Yeah, that was quite the experience. I like that place. That
That
he still
Japanese
got that-
shower.
Does he still have that property?
I'm not sure. I know he was moving it toward Airbnb-ness. But yeah, I'm not positive. Obviously, there hasn't been much reason.
Airbnb what?
Yeah.
Airbnb-ness.
Venus.
I remember it had a ballroom up top.
Yeah, the top floor, man. The shower up there. That shower had like 3 independently controlled zones. There was like this the shower part. There was like a thing for your lower back if you sat on the little stool, and then there was like steam that came
Yeah,
up.
you could
So you
just
could
have a
have like
straight
hot
steam
water
shower.
on
It
your
also
head,
played music.
cold water on your back,
Exactly.
and then hot steam all around you.
I created a whole rainforest ecosystem while I was in the shower.
I took several pictures of it so that I could remember how it was set up because, you know, everywhere we go where we see cool bathrooms, I take pictures. So when we do the remodel and all that,
Don't need to hear more about that.
The
I'm
only-
like, okay. I'm like, you know, because there was the one in where was that in Canada, where the whole thing was like this mosaic.
Yeah, but you can check our OnlyFans for that.
Um,
Yeah, Burnstown. I was just thinking about that, Dolio. It was a sunken pit. It was not a soaking tub though. It was a shower. It was a shower, and you stepped down into it. And I had a cold at that time. I had a nasty like Canada in the winter cold, and I came out of that shower feeling like a god. Oh man.
Well, I mean, it was the most awesome thing. I like. I couldn't have like. It was definitely a dream cabin. It could also serve as a nice little lair if you were a supervillain type of thing, because it had like a tree growing out the middle of it,
Yeah.
and because it was pitched on the side of a mountain, there was no need for curtains because who's gonna see you? A moose?
Yeah,
I mean,
that was
we
And the meats up there are cool, so you
yeah,
can let 'em watch.
right. Yeah, there was one. He had a flying squirrel with him for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I feel like we made this whole like agenda for the stream, and you know it started with
Oh, we
the
did?
introductions.
Oh.
Yeah, we jumped all the way
we
off of
totally
that.
did.
But-
We totally did the introductions. We started what y'all been up to,
Now we're
and then we skipped immediately to goofing off.
Yeah, but we can come back to some of it, I guess. So we could talk about what happened this week, but I feel like everybody's been talking about that. But
The one thing
we could talk about our thoughts on it.
and
happened this
the
week?
big thing that we want to talk about is well, there's been the National Guard sleeping in the Capitol,
Yeah.
you know, big preparations, and what they're saying is that the preparations are for protests against Biden's inauguration, and also protests against Trump and against the anti-Biden people, and that's what they say they're preparing for, and we just want to say to everybody, don't go to those. Stay home. Don't give them any excuse to be any more violent than they're already going to be. There's going to be plenty of videos, you know, if they do go through with their protests, of them clashing with police again, and we don't need anybody who is a peace-loving, you know, democracy-loving American involved in any of those things. Just let it go, be at home, celebrate democracy from your house.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
you may
what's
not
like-
be an agent of chaos yourself, but just by being at one of these things, you know, even if you believed some of these folks that come in like, I just wanted to come to help people, which like a
With
lot
my
of time you come in, you know,
pitchfork flagpole.
like to kill people, and you're like, I just wanted to, you know, keep things orderly. Like that's a load of hooey.
Yeah,
But
I'm-
even if you did want to just come in and keep things peaceful, like don't be there.
No,
Don't
there's
be
people. There's people that we pay to do that.
And they guard the
there's
nation.
a lot of them right now. I believe
Yeah,
there's like
a lot
more
of them,
service
yeah.
people in DC right now than anywhere else in the universe somehow. I'm not
Right,
sure.
and they are trained to handle that stuff. And I'm a firm believer of not interrupting your enemy while he's busy destroying himself.
Yes. Bravo.
That's right. So these are not we're not saying don't go out to protest ever in general.
Just this particular occasion.
The situation right now is stay out of that lion's den in the inauguration zone, because there's no productive way to go down there and help anything.
Right. And your
Yeah, and
state
listen-
capitals, same thing.
Yeah, and listen to Wrench when he says this, because Wrench is somebody who has protested. Wrench has gone to protests. Wrench has been arrested.
I've been arrested in DC on many occasions. The inauguration is not going to be one of them.
No.
Everybody stay out of that just for now, and we will continue. We will continue doing whatever work we need to do to make the future better for everybody. And we love you all, and we want you all to be safe.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. There's
Yes.
Wrench about to get arrested.
More
in
U.S.
DC.
troops in D.C. now than in Iraq and Afghanistan combined.
Which they have been pulling people out of those places.
They have.
Yeah, they haven't
And sending them to DC, I guess.
It's just so embarrassing that we
yeah,
need
I mean,
this
it's a
at
shame that it's
all.
needed, but people do things, and people have been doing things, and they do.
That's right. Don't provide, as everybody's saying, don't provide another potential
Target.
focal point. Yeah, for their anger. There's a lot of rage, and just being there could be a thing that makes stuff worse. And if we're not there, we can't be blamed. I mean, we can be blamed,
Yeah.
but the blame can't stick because all the video evidence will show
That's right.
who was
Right.
A
actually
lot of
there.
video evidence. Yeah,
lot of video
you might
evidence
be
will
a
show.
target, or you might be blamed,
Yeah.
or you might even look. I mean, I hate to say it, but you might even lose your cool a little bit, and maybe you do some things that you didn't realize you were capable of doing. Because as it turns out, people behave a little bit differently when they're in a mob.
Yes.
And we don't like to use the word mob to describe groups that aren't mobs, like
Right.
organized protests. Organized peaceful protests are not mobs. When we use the word mob, that kind of delegitimizes that protest. But when you're in a legit mob doing something like invading the U.S. Capitol,
Yeah.
that's
dragging
you-
police
you-
officers and beating
you know-
them to death with fire extinguishers.
yeah,
And
I mean, you might say,
flagpoles.
well,
Yeah,
that
that's
wasn't me.
definitely-
I didn't
that's
do that.
definitely
but-
mob.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, and just to add one more thing, it might sound romantic to say we're gonna defend our freedom, we're gonna defend democracy, we're gonna go down there, we're gonna, I don't know, something, shake your fist in the air, but just the short version. A lot of people are being told what to believe and riled up, and you don't want to be one of those people. You don't want to be somebody who listens to Alex Jones and then says, I'm really mad about something now, and then does what Alex Jones tells you to do. You don't
Yeah,
want
because I
to
guarantee you, Alex Jones is not going to be out there.
No, he's not. He might tell you to be out there,
Right.
but he's not going to be out there. And
Even if he is, I don't want to be anywhere.
no, especially if he's
Definitely, especially if
do not that. Oh my God, if you were there.
I mean,
wow.
and especially, and the thing is also, we are still in the upward rising trajectory of the first wave.
Of the of
So-
COVID. Exactly. That's right.
Any opportunity to not be in a densely packed crowd.
With a bunch of people not wearing masks. By the way, in a densely packed crowd would be a problem even if they were wearing masks. Go on, Delia.
Right. Also, with the huge influx of National Guard, we have been made aware that not all of them are being tested. So there's no insurance that that there will be any certain percentage of them that have already been verified as not being carriers. So you should just assume anybody's going to give it to you.
And even if they had been tested, just with that, I mean, last I saw, 6,000 guard troops at least, and with a number like 6,000 tests, you're going to have false negatives.
Right.
These tests are
falling
less
within
than
the
a year
margin
old.
of error. So there's going to be somebody carrion that's going to transmit it. So
Mm-hmm.
we are yet to see all of the outcome of the most recent gathering down there. And I'm being very lenient by calling it gathering. I mean, we're already seeing that there are people coming out of it who have contracted it from that. And there's going to be, you know, more numbers coming out from that. So if you want to, you know, express your passion about what's happening when it comes to the inauguration, do it from the safety of your own home.
Here, here.
You know, we have all these tech available to us, social media, various ways of streaming, phone calls to the people you know. These
Phone
are
calls to
things
your
that
representatives.
Your phone calls to your
And
representatives.
letters. You can
to
even
your
use the mail.
senators,
Eventually,
letters.
they'll get them.
Yes. Yes.
Letters go a long way. Letters are actually more effective because it gives them a concrete example of a person expressing, a constituent expressing their opinions on what they believe the person who represents them should be doing.
And bonus,
You know-
that stamp helps support the post office.
That's right. You know
Yes.
what I want to know is how many people who went to the Capitol had already like called and written letters to their representatives and just got really frustrated with that to a point of just like, I've been calling them and writing so many letters and they really weren't listening, and this time I'm really going to go down in there and tell them in person. I feel like probably not a lot.
Hold on.
Usually people don't get there from there.
You
There's
can't
not
go
a
there
step
from
where it's
here.
like, I've called you so many times that I'm coming now with zip ties to take you hostage. Not where people jump to.
Hold on.
That's not step
I have-
one and step two. No.
Yeah, I have the perfect background for that.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Of the answer to that question. That's on my other device.
And secondarily to writing
There
letters,
it is.
also mention Venmo request.
Say again about Venmo?
Venmo requests to your legislators are also something that has been happening recently.
Wait.
As in, where's my money, Rich?
Oh yeah,
awesome.
Mitch McConnell has been getting a lot of Venmo and Cash App.
That is
requests.
hilarious, and I love
Hey,
everything about
he set
that.
himself up with having a Venmo, knowing that and then doing something where you can, because it's a platform for which you can make requests,
Yeah, that's right.
and then you find out.
That's wonderful. That is wonderful.
I guess. I mean, it's,
There we go.
I don't know. It's a zing, but does it really help anything?
I
Does it
meant
make
the
anything
gritty.
better?
I meant the gritty with the face shield. That was totally what I was talking
yeah.
about.
That is great.
Completely what I was talking about.
Where
That
the
is so
where the
good.
bad things are.
So good.
Oh, this one.
This one.
Yeah, I like that.
No, they're all great. All the gritty backgrounds are great.
Gritty's the man. Well, not the man. He's the thing.
Gritty is the whatever he is.
Gritty is them.
Yeah, and Betty Lynn notes that that aides tally all the incoming messages and brief their bosses daily on the input in Congress, and that's something to think about. You know, one of the things that I don't know. I know Danjo gets the Trump campaign emails. I get the Trump campaign text messages.
I did until January 6th when they stopped.
The
coming.
the texts have started again,
Yeah,
but one of the
Yeah, I never. Yeah, I
Sorry.
just rely on feedback from you guys when it comes to the Trump party.
very
Fair,
reasonable.
fair, yeah.
Very
Because I
reasonable.
never actually
we will,
signed up
we
for
will
it.
be the proxy for that. Yes.
Yeah.
But one of the big themes of the text messages in the weeks leading up to the electoral college count was them sending out the phone numbers of various, like whatever, committee in the legislature was responsible for the certifying the electoral votes, and, or call the governor of such and such a state. It was all the swing states, right? It was Michigan and Arizona and Georgia and Pennsylvania. And they definitely were not saying to, call Wyoming, just the ones, and I actually really seriously considered and kind of regret not doing this, but posting all of those numbers and saying, hey, everybody, the Trump people are telling people to call and say how unfair the election was. We who are paying attention and have seen a lot of Republican officials certifying that, no, we've counted these ballots many, many times. The elections were fair. It is an accurate count. Republican legislatures, Republican officials, Republican governors.
Right. And especially when it comes to Georgia, like if you remember that you're talking about a governor who rigged the election to win his own race. If you think that it was rigged, he would have rigged it so his guys would win.
Right. Exactly. And the reason I feel like the reason they're mad is because they know it kind of was rigged and they still didn't manage to win.
Right.
When we say rigged, can we clarify what specifically we do and don't mean by that?
Okay, well
Voter suppression.
especially when I'm talking about Georgia, I'm talking about the massive disenfranchisement
Right.
of votes.
Right.
By basically
So we're not talking about like altering a count.
Yeah, they're not
we're not talking
altering
about
the
voting
ballots or all
machines.
these different things. We're
Right.
really talking about
Stopping-
changing the
Voter suppression.
outcome by
Stopping
ensuring
people from
people
voting.
can't vote in the first place.
Correct.
Right. Voter suppression. I mean, gerrymandering is
Gerrymandering
another
too.
thing, Betty.
Right.
But there is massive gerrymandering that's happening in almost every state, which is why even in states where you have a Democratic governor, you have mainly Republican legislators because of the gerrymandering, because the way they box, they call it boxing basically, where they you choose the electorate as opposed to having the electorate choose you. So they say, okay, if we take this group, we can cut this particular segment up based upon the demographics of an area, so that this particular area that would have normally had maybe a Democratic representative, because that's what represents that particular area, you segment it so that it looks like this weird Tetris piece, so that you end up with, instead of would have been maybe 2 Democrats and 2 Republicans, you end up with like 3 Republicans and 1 Democrat,
Right.
or 4 Republicans,
Right.
because you've segmented it enough basically by drawing this nonsensical pattern around a community and intersecting a community so that you can carve them out, carve those voters out so they can't act as a block.
Right.
And it's way more important than voter suppression in one election is bad enough, but like this is stuff that really has a big impact over multiple elections and representation in general. It can affect your funding. It can affect money you get for your school system. It can trickle into everything.
Right. That's how you get a party that represents that's how you get a party that represents about 39% of the population having about 60% of the representatives of a state.
That's right.
I don't know if it got brought up yet. The other really kind of bizarre part about that is then when you really do have stuff like that, right? A lot of these people that are like, well, obviously they hacked the voting machines, or, there were people in vans with Harris and Biden on them throwing ballots in the garbage or whatever.
Worst criminals ever.
When you have this actual cheating going on, it's been going on for decades upon end, they have no real concept of that, but any sort of, obviously and whoever the hell they are,
So you dropped out.
hack the systems and change all the votes.
Right. It's a projection, actually. It's more like, okay, they assumed because they were cheating that the other side was cheating.
Did anybody see that? I saw this map of the United States before Dominion got a hold of the votes, and it had Trump with like 410 electorates. I was like, really? Really?
Boy, really?
Really? Oh, it was wild. I'm like, please, no, stop it.
Yeah.
Stop it.
To say,
I knew the opioid problem was big, but I didn't realize it was that big.
Yeah, I would like to say, though, I think it is worth scrutinizing electronic voting machines.
Yes.
And we have had an election security activist that was on with us. There has been a lot to question in terms of the companies making the voting machine and making sure that our process is secure. We don't have evidence, like credible evidence right now, about them being hacked in a particular way, but we do want to make sure that we have our government investigating and really working to ensure that these systems are safe. And so any investigations in terms of finding out, how the machines work and making sure that the bids are good and there's good competition from reputable companies that are delivering these machines, because that it hasn't always been the case, but that's going back for the last decade. There's been questions about
2 decades.
the electronic machines and the need to have a paper trail so that everything can be properly audited. And I'm all for that. I'm all for ensuring that every vote is counted properly.
Here.
Yeah, and I'm a big fan of paper trail. I'm a technologist professionally outside of music, and I make sure I have physical paper trails for everything.
Yeah.
Because I recognize the faults in things, and people in my industry, although we push forward a lot of innovation and are very big fans of all the innovations that happens, I guarantee you that the people who are in the industry of big tech are more afraid of the tech than the people who are using it.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah.
We're talking about how, tech is flawed and elections and voting systems, are all flawed. I mean, we haven't had perfect elections. We haven't had even necessarily fair elections. And I was listening to an election reform expert talk about how we're not trying to make elections fair. We are trying to make them fairer. We're trying to make them more fair. Right. Because, ask anybody who's been disenfranchised, it hasn't been fair.
Yeah, I mean, we brought candidates onto our show previously, and when they came on, they would explain to you what was going on in my district, my home district, basically in Pensacola. The chair that Teniade won was a chair that is only there because of the work that was done on the ground by people like Elmer Jenkins, where they had to basically take it to court to sue to get representation for that district. The disenfranchisement is real, and it's codified in laws, and it takes the groundwork to get that stuff broken down.
Here.
And becoming disillusioned with how the process works is not terribly helpful, because once you become disillusioned, you believe things are hopeless. You don't necessarily want to do the work anymore. But doing the work is what makes the change.
That's a great point. And and that leads to another piece of fairness that we see, or unfairness that we see in elections, right? There's voter suppression, there's gerrymandering, there's also just the parties themselves. There's the money. They're the ones who are putting in the funds for candidates to run, even at the lowest levels, town councils and whatnot. And that essentially chooses who gets to move up the ranks. And, a lot of folks know somebody who ran for a lower office. And if they didn't have the party's backing, that's a really uphill battle to get that, because the party has so much money. And that leads us just right back to this whole stay home and don't take part in the violence, because a lot of what has created this situation that we're in, there are many factors, of course, but a big thing is that political parties are incentivized to stoke fear in people, because that's how they best make money. That's how they get the biggest and most reliable donations, and anybody who gets these campaign emails or text messages has been seeing this on a near daily basis for months, where you're getting messages trying to put you in a place of fear, make you fearful of the other side. And angry, yes, but that anger is based in fear. They're stoking our fear, right, and division in order to get money to perpetuate their positions of power as these two parties that are basically, the parties themselves are unelected, and yet they choose our candidates for us. You know, and it's so they're stoking division. They're creating this situation where Americans are turning on other Americans in a deeply violent and anti-democratic way, and you know, and we have these, the result of this being the self-perpetuation of this party machine that just keeps doing that.
And as bad as that is, and it is bad, but what is even sort of worse in a different way is then, you know, the idea of, say, you know, foreign agents, right, malactors coming in and saying, well, what's worse even than, you know, yeah, the anger and the fear machine really keeps it all going in this way that it goes, like keeps it working, you know, keeps candidates being elected. But then what we should really do is try to get people apathetic, get people to give up, like what Dolia was saying. You know, if you give up on it, then you don't do the work of trying to fix it or even trying to maintain it. So I would argue, you know, that's maybe the thing that you want to avoid the most. Yeah, don't get angry, don't get afraid.
That's pretty bad. That's even worse. But what's even worse than that is a cheese grater just like right down your arm, just over and over again.
I would say, Wrench, when it comes to like the apathy of the American people versus a cheese grater on your arm,
I might take the cheese grater if it would save
I
America.
know, even at least the cheese grater will keep you alert.
Yeah, that's right. You can't be apathetic if you have a cheese grater on your arm. Am I right?
That's great.
Yeah.
That's a great
And,
Cheese grater inspires passion.
Right. I mean, yeah. The point. A lot of the outrage that has been generated over the past, you know, decade or so, has been the point of that outrage that has been generated is to make you apathetic. It's to give you fatigue.
Yeah.
To the point to where you're so tired of being outraged that you just stop caring.
Yeah.
So, you know, part of that of us urging you to keep yourself safe is one, because we still need you to be able to take part in the real fight.
Yeah.
Not that part of it is not the real fight. It's just that is the dumb part of the fight. It's part of it that you don't need to be involved in. The people who are going to be acting out there, just let them do their thing, because they will get spanked.
Yeah, they'll show themselves to be the
And
people
it's just
who they are,
like
too.
when you were kids and you were there and somebody you were out with and they were misbehaving, you may have enjoyed watching them getting spanked, but you didn't really need to be there because you might actually catch a stray.
Yeah, think of it like saving your energy, like efficiency. You know,
Right.
Yeah, you could fight everything, but like you really got to pick your battles these days, especially now. You know, I mean, how much extra energy do you really have? And I'm saying this as somebody who has a new baby.
And I know you have no extra energy.
Right.
You know, but like how much extra energy, you know, people, you might think that you have extra energy and you really don't. You know, like you may think it's free to just engage with every single person on the internet, you know, like argue with people in the comments on Facebook. You may think it's free, and what's it really costing you?
Yeah, that's right,
It's going to
Rusty.
cost you.
Super packs.
It's not just energy. Also, how much time do you have for enemies?
No time.
No time for
No time.
enemies.
No time for it.
None. Not there, none.
Yeah. But
Spend it on something more productive.
Right. We do have time for friends
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
family. And we want you all to take care of yourselves.
I'll be there for you.
Right. So you can be there for your friends and family. You know, take care of yourselves, keep yourself safe. The pandemic is still real, and it is still escalating. We are still in the first wave.
Yeah.
It
And it has not crested yet.
is not crested.
Yeah, we have had more than a 9/11's worth of deaths, like 1,000
Every-
people more than every day. Every day for
So
weeks
think
now.
about it. We've had a 9/11 every day for almost a year.
Well,
Yeah, it's more recently that we've gotten to that rate.
yeah,
I mean, no,
but
I
if you
said
if you
almost,
average
you
it
know.
out,
So I guess about 3/4 of a year.
if you average it out, that's not actually
When you
far
average
off.
it out,
Yeah.
there have been some peaks here and there when it comes to the actual numbers. But as far as the infection rates are going out, it's not just about Like the deaths that happen, a lot of it comes from residual effects that are lingering.
That's right.
They exacerbate other conditions. It's not purely the COVID, but if you have underlying conditions, then the COVID is going to, exacerbate those things, conditions that, vulnerabilities in, say, your renal system.
Yes.
Your cardiovascular
Very
system.
much so.
I was just in a talk yesterday.
It was a great talk, by the way.
Yeah,
Shout out to Hood Medicine.
Yeah, if you check out the Hood Medicine Initiative that I'm part of, hoodmedicine.org. We're a group of scientists and data scientists and medical professionals and virologists and epidemiologists and every hyperologist that deals with handling this ridiculous onslaught of data that we have. And we were speaking with people at the CDC and doctors who are on the floor when it comes to dealing with this pandemic. Basically, we just want everyone to stay safe. We're trying to keep people informed about the current pandemic, the development of the vaccines, the administration of the vaccine, the distribution of the vaccines, what to expect when it comes to it, so that people who may or may not be skeptical about whether or not they want to get vaccinated, what the advantages would be, and also to let people know who would be in the groups that would maybe not want to avoid getting the vaccine. And also explaining what vaccines do and their purpose. I know there's a lot of misinformation that happens when it comes to vaccination.
Right.
Which is truly a first world issue, to tell you. And that's a term I don't even like using, because I feel like first world, third world, all that stuff is really a culturally insensitive nomenclature.
Hear, hear.
But when it comes to, quote unquote economic superpowers, that is where you see the highest density of anti-vaxxers.
Yep.
When they and when the reality is that those economic superpowers are the ones that have benefited the most from vaccination. The reason why you don't have polio right now, or rubella.
Mm-hmm.
You ain't never met nobody that had rubella. Not nobody.
That's right.
Nobody.
That's right. That's an interesting distinction, though, between the measles, mumps, and rubella shot and the current crop of COVID vaccines. It is possible that at some point we might, get better vaccines such that this point will become not true anymore. But at the moment, there is a difference in that the measles vaccine, once you get it, you can't get measles, you can't transmit measles, you're covered forever. Some vaccines, you can't, once you get the vaccination, you can't get the disease and you can't transmit the disease for a certain amount of time. And then other vaccines.
And others, especially this particular one, is like, it's more, this vaccine is to more prepare you to fight an infection, so you don't get as severe a case of it. Much like a vaccination for chickenpox. You may still get chickenpox. It just won't be as bad. You don't have to worry about dying from chickenpox.
And in this case, you can, if you get vaccinated, which you absolutely should if you possibly can, that is really a thing. Unlike the masks, masks are so much about helping your neighbor not get sick if you happen to be sick. And, there may be a minimal benefit for yourself, but for the mask wearer, but it's really about helping other people, making sure you're not infecting other people. But with the vaccine, because it doesn't stop you from getting the virus and it doesn't stop you from transmitting the virus, it just makes it so much less likely that you'll get super sick or, heaven forbid, die, end up in the hospital. That actually really is something you're doing to help yourself. We're not creating a herd immunity through this set of vaccines. That's not what's happening here. What we're doing is we're making it so that fewer people will die, and so that fewer people will need to be draining our hospital resources.
Right. It's more of a herd inoculation.
Did you hear that in Jersey, they're like smokers are getting moved to the head of the line?
I heard something about that. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Yeah.
That feels like the wrong incentive structure.
Wait, so I mean, I guess they are higher risk because of their
Yeah, it's a risk factor.
Yeah,
their respiratory
I
issues.
get.
But this is more than a respiratory disease. That's the thing.
Exactly,
That's
it's
more of a
circulatory.
misunderstanding as to what the disease is.
Yeah. By the way, for all the sciencing and such going on in hood medicine, apparently Nisi has no real care for people's addictions. Because as soon as I said something about my hoodie addiction, she posted the link to all the new hood medicine gear on my page, and they got some bomb ass hoodies on there, and I'm like, didn't I just tell you I have a problem?
Terrible, man. That's insensitive. You should
Yeah,
have that
but
COVID vaccine.
your problem will help others.
Randy gets the
It'll help a
COVID
good
vaccine
cause.
early because he has a problem.
Well, I got a sweatshirt problem.
Yeah.
I was like waving Henny at a drunk. Like, come on, man, that's no
Which one
fair.
are you looking at? The gorilla.
The Gorilla Jones are hot,
Yeah,
so
they're hot, right?
yeah, the whole Jones are very, very dope. I'm like, oh.
That reminds me, are we still on to go out and wave Henny at drunks later?
I can
Wait,
wave
I'm
saggy bar
not
drums.
waving Henny at drunks.
I mean,
I need more rye. I just
that's a
exhausted
good Friday night.
my rye. I have bourbon downstairs.
No, we're staying in our houses where it's safe.
I mean, this is one of those things, though, by the way, like, we can easily go down a rabbit hole of, well, what are you talking about? Smokers getting the thing. They shouldn't get it. I should get it.
Yeah, everybody
But
should get it.
Everybody should get it.
Everybody should get it. We
I
don't
figured,
want to
yeah,
spend
you
too
wanna-
much time, like, fighting with each other about, like, why, we only get 500 doses and then you don't get it. Like, why did we only get, like, why is this being so poorly administered is a better question than who gets it, who doesn't get it.
Right.
And-
So yeah, and especially because when you deal with smokers, they're higher risk for comorbidities when it comes to the infection, and also it puts them at a higher risk of spreading it through the coughing and the exhalation. So it benefits the public in general to make sure that they get administered the vaccine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to make sure the people who are the higher risk to get it and have the more severe symptoms get the inoculations first, because they would be more apt to spread it.
Word up, man.
It's
I'm
public
all
health.
100% in favor, even just from a philosophical standpoint of not, letting yourself be divided to say, oh, I gotta keep this group from getting there, that group, we're in competition.
We all do better if we all do better.
Right.
Do better,
When you
we
look
all
at
do
it,
better.
a lot of time, we actually all do better if we all do better.
And beyond that, I think as
Ain't
a
nothing wrong with that.
culture, like, hopefully we can move. We're starting to move to a place of better understanding addictions, just in general. Nicotine is addictive.
Right,
you know.
hoodies are addictive.
Caffeine is
We can
addictive.
think about smoking as something that's morally wrong or foolish or unhealthy, or we can understand that it's something that people do for a bunch of different reasons, and it's addictive, and like, maybe the time to go back and forth about, like, man, you should really consider quitting smoking. Maybe the time to do that is not right in the middle of a pandemic. Maybe what we need to do is save lives and improve public health.
You know what kills more people than smoking?
What's that?
Sugar.
Ah,
Indeed.
Hey.
yep.
Which
Yep.
is
And it's easy to
also
look at-
an addiction.
It's easy to look at smoking and just say, filthy habit. I don't smoke. What I do is consume a ton of sugar, and a bunch of high cholesterol stuff. I mean, I don't have a problem with high cholesterol.
I've been high on sugar for 20 years.
Oh, I drink maple syrup straight. Don't get me started on maple syrup.
Really, don't get it started.
Like that stuff is bad for you, but we don't have nearly the stigma on it. And here I am defending smoking. Like, I don't smoke, and I don't think you should smoke. I don't think you should start smoking, because it's bad for you. But I wouldn't want to take that to the point of saying, and that's why they deserve to die.
I don't. You're not defending smoking. You're just standing up for an inclusive, non-divisive approach to solving a problem.
Here.
Absolutely.
Here. And the on the rollout stuff that you were talking about, Danjo, too. A lot of the issues with rollout show us just how unprepared we were for a pandemic. This is something that's being rolled out across. This is not just the federal government, and in fact, because of the botched federal response, it's like a lot of it is not the federal government that ought to be. But we're talking about states, and we're talking about localities. We're talking about an individual county that never thought that they were going to need to confront a public health crisis this significant with this kind of logistics, right? You've got vials of vaccines that have 5 to 7 doses in them, and you have to pull that out, and you have to it gets diluted with, I don't know, is it a saline solution, right? There's a whole process to this. It has to be kept at these particular temperatures. The different vaccines have to be kept at different particular temperatures. There's a whole cold chain that has to be maintained. Where are you giving people these vaccines? Are you, can you find a place like in Baltimore County, they're doing it at the Cow Palace at the fairgrounds, because that's a place that's basically open air and yet covered, and where they can have a whole lot of people coming in a short span of time.
I'm sorry, you said
and now it's being reserved.
Palace?
Now it's being
Palace,
revealed
yes.
that we don't have the reserve second dosages that were, bragged about by who.
Right.
Well, and then in addition to all that other stuff, and so clearly, like, Operation Warp Speed spent a lot of money on creating the vaccine, and then, not nearly as much money on actually distributing the thing. But even beyond that, like...
Shout out to Dolly Parton.
Shout out to Dolly Parton, always. We should say that on every show for a
everything.
variety of reasons.
Right. But
even after you have the vaccine, you've transmitted it, like you've transported it to all the different places, you get it into people's arms. Remember, people were talking about this extra 6th dose. It's like a vial that contains 5 doses, but there actually was a little bit of overfill,
right.
a little extra.
Six,
so it
even
turns
7 in
out
some of
you
them.
can actually get a 6th dose out of those vials. Well, you ever draw something up into a syringe, and then you deliver it, and there's a little bit left in the syringe after you've like plunged it all the way down, and then you have to throw that away. So these low efficiency syringes are wasting what could be the 6th dose, so they don't even have the right syringes to do that properly, and that comes down to them not getting the right syringes from whatever federal program they're supposed to get those from, and there's so many variables to be thinking about with this, and you have to get all of them right.
Exactly.
You can't just get half of them right.
Exactly. And this is just what we're seeing during the vaccinations. There's the testing that was going on and is still going on, where in some places the length of the swabs didn't match the length of the test tubes that they were supposed to put the swabs into, resulting in potential contamination, and you just look back to the National Strategic Stockpile that got eaten up during H1N1 and was not refilled by the Obama administration and was not refilled by the Trump administration. And
they pretty much eliminated the pandemic task force.
Yep, that's right. And we need to look at this, because this is not the pandemic. This is the warning shot. We could easily end up with a virus that is just as contagious, if not more so, and that is way more deadly. So we need to be so prepared. We need to have all of this down. We need to have the vaccination creation chain down, and the cold chain down, and the PPE, ready to go. And the National Strategic Stockpile, right? That was a bunch of like palleted masks and syringes and gowns and all of these things ready to go at Air Force bases. That was where it was stored, because you've got plenty of room for storage, and you can get them right on planes and get them where they need to go. So all these logistics we need to be thinking about in advance, because when this next one comes, we're going to need to have this stuff ready. And, you know, we also really ought to think about increasing our hospital capacity, increasing like stretch capacity for hospitals, because it's not just about beds. You can take the Javits Center and put a bunch of beds in them. If you don't have the staff for those beds, it's not going to help.
Right, and whether people want to believe it or not, we're going to need to have some sort of nonprofit medical infrastructure.
Yes.
When you're dealing with a for-profit medical system, which the United States is singular in that arena, you end up having a serious deficit in the arena of being able to cover the populace. You know, when your only real objective is profit and not the greater good, you're not going to have the capacity to treat something that is this large. You know, so many municipalities and even like, you know, county hospitals are just running out of beds.
Yeah.
And
even where they're not running out of beds, they're short staffed in part because a lot of the staff is sick, but also just
right. A lot of the staff is sick.
They didn't have staff to be at 100%
They were already
capacity.
running at they were already understaffed to begin with.
Right. We have an even worse nursing shortage thanks to the immigration crackdowns, because a lot of the nursing shortages, you know, a lot of the nursing shortage that we've been addressing over the last several years has been addressed by bringing in nurses from other countries like the Philippines.
Right, and the reason you're having to bring in so many nurses from other countries is because they made education so expensive in this country. You can literally send your kids across the water and have them go all the way to postgraduate out of pocket without having to take out a single loan. Where here you basically have to take a mortgage out on your life. Sorry, I'm done ranting.
Well, I mean, all these things are super, super important. It's about the
these
education. It's about
all of these
staffing.
things are intertwined. It's like all these little pieces that make this big snowball of. I went an entire year without really cursing, so I'm trying not to. So
wow,
it made
that's
this
impressive.
big snowball of bovine excrement.
And there's a good point in the Facebook comments too from Amber, who's talking about being a homeless advocate, and that's another big piece of this puzzle. You know, talking about making sure that there's a nonprofit healthcare system, but also things like, what do you do about homeless shelters if you're trying to socially distance? What do you do about making sure that this, you know, that even if you get it's so well understood that people need to be apart and need to be wearing masks, and you actually do that in the greater, you know, housed community.
Right.
There's this whole extra
the concept
piece
of homelessness
of
in itself is absurd in what is considered to be the most robust economy on the planet.
Right. Jeff Bezos could house every one of those people now, and also give $20,000 bonuses to every one of his delivery drivers and warehouse workers.
Yeah, because the thing is that
which they
in
deserve,
this country, people like having had to battle with a lot of these issues myself, you know, and I'm very fortunate in that I was blessed with a lot of advantages that allowed me to get myself out of them. That most people do not have. It is very expensive to be poor in this country. Because what happens is that just the cost of poverty keeps you in this downward spiral. It's hard to claw your way out of it. You know, one of the most common things you hear when people want to degrade people who are, you know, homeless or without without work is just get a job. Have you ever tried to get a job without an address? Have you ever tried to get a job without a phone number?
Without a place to wash your clothes.
Have you ever tried to get a job without a place to take a bath?
Yep.
These are real considerations. And then when you think about that, think about the type of jobs that a person can get when they have to deal with those issues. They're definitely not going to be the type of jobs that will get them out of that position. That will get them out of a position to where like they're just one step away from being back on the street.
Unless we had like a minimum wage that guaranteed that those jobs would be enough. But then, you know, you have the counter argument. Well, if you want to get paid more, just get one of those better jobs, which you can't necessarily do.
Right, but the concept of a minimum wage is basically like saying, I want to pay you less, but the government won't let me.
Yeah.
I want to pay you nothing.
Right.
But they won't let me.
Yeah, we passed laws against that.
Right.
Unless you're a prisoner.
Yes.
Exactly. Where
Quite
you
so.
can get paid a nickel an hour. And that's considered the high scale.
Or
Sidebar.
to keep opening up new cans of worms in this conversation.
Yeah, I was totally going to open up another can of worms.
We could talk about the prison industrial contract, the prison industrial complex in another.
It's so
night.
not
No,
right. Like,
hold on.
forget felons.
That's a whole evening, and I'd like to get guests involved on that one.
Well, yeah, I mean, so forget felons not being able to vote after they get out of prison, which is obviously horrific. But like, shouldn't they also be able to vote while they're in prison? Why on earth do you get your vote taken away for being in prison? Like, there should be a secret ballot so that nobody can tell you you're here, so you have to vote a particular way. And then just, how are we collectively
I have mixed feelings
disenfranchising so
about
many
that.
people?
Not necessarily because of the voters themselves, but because of the type of influence that happens when a person is in the institution.
Well, and that's why I'm saying that
Because there's
that
no
the
way to
secret ballot
guarantee
is hugely
that
important.
their ballots are being counted accurately, because the people who run the prisons can be manipulating their votes.
Right,
Yeah,
and we
it would
already
have
have
to-
the
we'd have
system
to have
where
like
if
a
you put people
nonprofit
in a
coming
prison,
in.
And then those people are counted as population in that
Right.
county, then you're
Yeah.
already getting disproportionate influence, political influence, just by you having a vote and them having no votes. So if you were to give them votes, even if this is again example of like it's not fair, but it maybe is more fair to at least give them some votes, and you might say, oh boy, those are
No,
gonna be
I'm
some
all in
weird
favor.
votes.
I'm all in favor of them having votes.
Right.
Yeah, and I
It's
feel
just
like
that
even whatever crime,
I
no matter
believe
what.
that if they have votes, there should be something in place that ensures that their votes are being counted
Yes.
as their votes,
Yes.
Sure.
and not the votes of the people who are incarcerating them.
Right.
Absolutely.
They're
I
not
guess my
being
point was that
intimidated
even
and
if it was like a
threatened.
super unfair and loose system, it would still be better
Right.
than the no system that's now, because basically it means
Right.
that the prison owner is the only person that votes at all.
Right, and the thing is I feel like if their votes aren't if they're not giving the right to vote, then their numbers should not be counted in your consideration for number of representatives you get.
At least that,
Absolutely.
yeah, that would be such a great like bare minimum to start, and then
But
then we start running into the
that
3/5
even
compromise.
that is a slippery slope, because that gets us back into 3/5 of a person.
Exactly.
right, exactly.
Territory.
We're acknowledging like, oh, they're not really people,
So
and
it's
they don't
really
have rights.
so what really should happen is everybody should get the right to vote.
Yeah.
And everyone should have something in place that ensures that your votes get counted accurately,
Yes.
and
we-
that your vote is not impeded.
Yes.
And we
So
probably
there should
shouldn't
be-
have as many people in prison either.
Yeah. Well, we need
that
to
is most
we need,
definitely a point.
we need to
because
release all the
most of the people
nonviolent
who are
drug
in prison are
offenders
there for
now.
nonviolent offenses.
Yeah, we need to release
Like,
all of them now, because we're going to need to make room for the terrorists that are actually like storming our capital and threatening our public officials.
There's
Right.
not that many terrorists compared to our incredible.
There's somebody doing 20 years for a dime bag that is like, yo.
Right. and drug offenses, which now, at least in New Jersey, are not offenses
Right.
anymore.
Right, like I feel, like if you're in a state that just legalized and you're in jail for selling a substance which is now legal, you should no longer be in jail, and your
Totally.
record should be expunged.
Yes. Here, here. Here,
You know,
here.
it's just like people who went to jail for like interracial marriage.
Yo, did you guys see Brian Smedley's up here in the Facebook comments?
What?
Oh.
We've
No,
been talking
really?
about you a lot lately.
Holy
bud.
crap! Yo, Brian Smedley.
The
Yo, I have to salute this man. because he has taken us on so many adventures, and he's such a stand-up guy. Like,
And what he said, by the way, was that in the UK, the local authorities just found homes for the homeless during COVID.
Yeah.
Which proves that beforehand, if they weren't doing that, it was a political choice.
right. I mean, even then,
find
when it
homes.
comes to the way the authorities, the constable, or in the UK has a completely different relationship with the populace than they do here in the States.
And a quick heads up to Brian Smedley, aka the Transporter.
Yes.
If there is a time soon that we may need to transport ourselves across the U.S., you may be getting called in
Yes.
to drive on the other side of the street over here.
So I hope your license is international, because we want you over here with us to get us across this land.
Yeah.
Yo, Brian Smedley is the man.
You're here.
And fingers crossed, as soon as we can get back to the UK, hopefully in the fall, to be playing some more amazing shows with all the people that we love over there.
Shout out
may
to my
have to-
shout out to my Glasgow Massive, all my people
We may
in
have to drive
Calabash.
there.
Calabash.
I think we should probbly drive to the UK.
Yes.
Safest way.
If anybody could drive us there, it'd be Brian. He'd find a tunnel or something. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. One other quick note before we jump into our Twitch after party at Gangstagrass TV. So everybody start funneling over to gangstagrass.tv, because we will be turning off the Facebook and the YouTube streams and get a little crazy for a little bit before we all head to bed or whatever other wackiness we'll be up to. But one other quick thing I wanted to note was, on the whole tip of what have y'all been up to and what happened this week. I noticed a post from my cousin, because I've been getting in some debates with my cousins on Facebook about what's happening right now and trying to help them see, that they're being misled, that the sources that they think are telling them the truth are in fact bald-faced lying to them. And
Sleeves, may I ask you
Sure.
earnestly how that's working out for you?
It has so in some cases it has worked out well, and actually in every case it has worked out well, but my family is not necessarily happy with me. But I will tell you, I posted on Facebook a bunch because my cousins went to my grandmother's house, my 80-some-year-old grandmother, without wearing face masks, and hung out in her closed home in all like together for hours, and and I felt like that was endangering grandma, and I explained it on Facebook twice. And I will tell you, the last time they just went to go see grandma, and they wore masks the whole time. Even my uncle, who told me to rot in hell. So
Wow.
so while the reactions were not great, the result is what I was going for. And if my family has to be mad at me in order to get them to wear masks and protect my grandmother, I'm fine. I'll take it.
So when he said
Yeah,
when he told you that, it sounded more like rotten hell.
No, he texted it to me.
Ah, yeah.
He
as
told
a-
me
as a
he told me
person
I was a
who is-
piece of shit, and that he would make sure I rotted in hell.
Yeah, as a person who is still currently mourning his grandmother, who I lost, in November, and who, thankfully my mother is recovering from the vid.
Yay, Mama Sleuth.
And the fact that I'm just tired of funerals, man. I'm just tired of funerals. When you get into the double digits, it's just exhausting, And this has really been trying on a lot of families, mine in particular. But I know if I'm going through it, I know that a lot of folks. I'm not alone in this, because I see the numbers, and I see the numbers.
Yeah.
In real time, and examining the numbers and parsing through the numbers, and let's just say this is a very trying time for data scientists. It's just not fun, because you're just parsing through just mountains of misery.
Yes.
And healthcare workers too. I want to say, like, a big reason why we are lacking healthcare workers is they're just quitting.
Yeah, they get exhausted. One, they're overworked because there's so few. There's not enough of them, and then that causes more exhaustion, and then it reduces the number of them available because they get burnt out.
Yeah,
Now
burnt
the
out,
work is
and
already
some people
hard,
are
right?
legitimately
Right, it's already hard
dealing
work.
with that many people. But
Yeah.
when you leave the hospital where you see people, dying in the worst ways, and then on the way home you pass a bar and everybody's in there and they're
Just
not wearing
partying
masks
like-
and they're just partying, and it makes you ask some really hard questions, kind of about like you're like, what am I doing?
Right. Is it worth
like,
saving
how is
people
this-
who are doing this
how
to
can
each
this
other?
be worth it?
Yeah. There's a lot of anti-maskers, a lot of anti-vaxxers, and it's they're anti-masking until it affects them, and then there's
Typically.
this huge regret. That is
Right.
if they're
Chris Christie.
self-aware enough, because a lot of healthcare professionals are dealing with the fact that there are people who are in the death throes of this affliction, and then still are in denial that it's a reality.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just take, and if you don't do it for, it's like part of what I do with the Hood Medicine Initiative is really just to get people to have this inkling of self-preservation. Like, even if you're not going to think about somebody else, think about saving yourself.
Yeah.
Save yourself from this thing, because you don't know how it's going to affect you. You might feel as though you're an healthy, strong individual, but plenty of healthy, strong individuals are getting taken down.
That's right.
Taken down and not necessarily killed, but like long-term fatigued. I mean, I have people
Right.
in my family who've had it, who tested positive and definitely had it and are suffering long-term effects. And then the people that they live with didn't test positive, so we don't know that they had it, but they've got just some stuff going on.
Right.
Health
So
stuff
they may or may
that,
not
like,
have,
unexplainable.
may or may not have gone through its cycle.
Yeah.
Right.
So like, what is, what does the post-COVID syndrome even look like? We don't know yet. We don't know.
Right. And remember, I mean, if somebody got the virus one day before they were tested, or 2 days before they were tested, or in some cases even 4 days before they were tested, that it can be too early for the virus to show up on the tests. So
Right,
you
and
can
it depends on the
absolutely
type
have
of
gotten
test they're getting.
negatives. Yeah, for sure.
Are they being tested for the antibodies, or are they just being tested for the symptoms of having it in their system? Because if it has run its course, then you would need to be testing for the antibodies.
Right. And the antibody tests have a lot of false positives.
Right.
So
And then there's also sort of a lifespan of the antibodies.
Yep. Which with coronaviruses, because they are colds, types of colds, coronaviruses people get over and over and over again. And we've known that for years. So when people started, like when
Right.
Sweden was doing its herd immunity experiment, which they talked about on the Hood Medicine Initiative talk yesterday, and and that failed because you're not going to get herd immunity from a virus that people catch over and over and over again.
Right. Yeah, it's like rhinovirus, which is what we get the common cold from.
Another common cold.
It has several different mutations, several different types of rhinoviruses, but they all just fall under that umbrella. And that's what actually fuels this whole conspiracy theory about the whole, quote unquote pandemic of coronavirus, because coronavirus is not what this is. Coronavirus is just the umbrella in which you categorize what COVID is.
It is
this
a
particular COVID-19, which is this variant of the coronavirus, of a coronavirus type. There are several other variants, a few of the more virulent versions of which have arrived and are being spread now in our country due to an abundance of negligence. So just don't let the fact that something else that is called coronavirus existed before this sway you from being cautious. Take the basic precautions. And the sooner more of us adopt these precautions, the sooner we can get back out.
Yeah.
It's a thing that needs a host to replicate.
That's right.
As long as you stop giving it hosts, you slow down its spread.
And
you give the healthcare system a better opportunity to handle it, to get it to where now we're not running out of beds.
Right.
You know?
And you know, the way you're talking about it, it's kind of similar to, like you mentioned, that pandemic video that went around. Like, here's another thing you can do to boost your immunity to things that are misleading. You know, if somebody sends you a video and says, you know, do your own research, watch this video, do your own research and, you know, learn some things that aren't in the video. Like, ask questions beyond
YouTube is not research.
Yeah, somebody just sent me this video and it seems like it's being suppressed, so it must be true.
I love that we just came full circle, because this was actually the point I was making about my cousin. So different cousin who I did actually have some good interactions with on Facebook about explaining how I had gone into the mortality statistics, because he was saying that, you know, if you get decapitated in a car accident, you get, you know, they say that you died of COVID and that's why the numbers are so high. And I talked about going deep into those numbers and finding the excess deaths and seeing how that, like, that's really not what's happening. But I just saw that he posted an article that, like, was basically just a PR piece on Donald Trump about all these wonderful things that he's done. You know, it was basically just a series of anecdotes that were sort of non-specific. Yes, your eyebrow raise is not unwarranted there, Dolio. You know, like, one of them was this, that he at one point was in his limo and a tire there was a flat tire and the chauffeur was just standing around, not able to do anything, which is, of course, on its face implausible. You're not going to hire a chauffeur who can't change a tire. And a good Samaritan drove up and, you know, helped change the tire, and Trump said, "What can we do for you?" And the guy said, "Oh, just send my wife flowers. Here's a card with my address on it." And the next thing you know, there's flowers with a note that says, "We've paid off your mortgage." And
sorry, what are
this is
what?
This hang on, this is a whole, this is an article that's just
sounds like a copy pasta.
That's just full of these kinds of anecdotes.
It sounds like something that should get run through Snopes immediately.
Well, actually, it's so great that you say that, because two things. One, at the end of the article, it says, and don't bother to fact check this for all you people who are already starting to do that, because I already fact checked it and it's all true. Now, you should be, I feel like this goes without saying, but you should be immediately skeptical when someone tells you, don't fact check this. And in fact, I did go to Snopes, and in fact, that was not true. There was an anecdote in there that was true about suing Palm Beach in order to open his club to people other than, you know, white Christian men, you know, but they give him a lot of credit for doing that because he's, you know, some great humanitarian, when in fact it was a business decision, because there was a lot of people who were not white Christian men who wanted to be part of country clubs, and it would be just a good business decision.
Right, and their money was just as green as the other guys.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, you know, here my cousin is posting this.
Sorry, for our European and non-American people, our money here is green.
That's right. It's not rainbow.
I realize that you guys' money is far more attractive than ours.
It's so pretty. It has windows in it sometimes. Very cool. Very cool. But yeah, I mean, you know, so here's my cousin, one of millions of people who is posting propaganda with notes at the end written by whoever wrote the propaganda in the first place, saying, "Don't bother to fact check this. I already did," as though that makes it true. And it's hard work. It is exhausting. It is tiring to go through those, like you go through pandemic, and point out everything that's wrong and inaccurate with what's in there.
I'll keep you running in circles to break down all the falsehoods, and by the time you've done that, there's a whole bunch of new ones. But we're gonna have a whole other episode about our pandemic of truthiness and people going based on what feels right, without double checking the numbers.
Yes.
But But hopefully, all this has answered Timmy West's question about what Game Boy games we used.
Favorite video game? Yeah, you're right. Tetris was good. The Power Rangers, based on the movie.
I didn't even know about the Power Rangers one.
It's good.
Indeed.
What? No, I didn't either.
But I did play the hell out of that Tetris.
That's a Russian wedding song, by the way.
Interestingly,
The backstory behind Tetris is even more interesting.
Ooh, I haven't read
is
it.
it?
I want to read it.
Wait. Save this for when we hop over to the Twitch. We'll do a few more minutes on the Twitch, just us.
Oh yeah.
We'll talk about Tetris being good for PTSD.
All right.
Maybe that's why I played so much of it.
Maybe. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and in just a moment, ooh, the dashboard looks different. I'm going to turn off the feeds to the Facebook and the YouTube. Join us at gangstagrass.tv. We'll take just a few more minutes, get a little silly.
If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube right now, come on over to gangstagrass.tv and join in. And everybody remember, if you're not already, to sign up for the Barnstormers at gangstagrass.com/barnstormers. We love you and we want you to be part of the club.
Here. All right, I'm going to put up our little end card.